Hello there, this video is going to be about the new Sony 100mm macro. You see, I also have the 90mm here. I'm going to talk about how I use this lens in the field, how it compares to the 90mm macro, so you can basically choose which one to get or decide if you need to upgrade. Before we get into the video, maybe you've seen it already if you have seen other videos of me, but I have a new desk and this is the E7 desk by FlexiSpot, and they were kind enough to send this desk to me because, you know, my old desk in my older videos quite wobbly, and this desk is very much better quality. It's very heavy, very sturdy, not wobbly anymore. It's a standing desk, it goes up, very durable motors. And yeah, overall it feels very good. It's also very nice. I picked the dark wood, the multiplex material. They have a lot of different frames that you can choose from. I picked this one because it fits very well in my studio. So yeah, like I mentioned, the desk is very strong, takes 180 kilograms, so I can even sit on the desk and it will be totally fine. It was very quick to assemble. I think it took me like 20 minutes by myself. All the tools are included, so very complete package. If you're interested in this desk yourself, this is the E7 Pro. I put everything in the description below. They don't only have desks, they also have other stuff, a lot of nice high quality stuff, good reviews. One more thing I should mention is that FlexiSpot offers 10 years of warranty on this desk and a 60 days return policy. So that is, you know, if you for some reason don't like it, you just return it, and the warranty is also very long. So yeah, check it out. If you want anything, check the description below. Let's go into the video and talk about this lens. Alright, so as I often do with these lens videos, I have my laptop here. I'm gonna go through a bunch of shots that I took in the last couple of weeks with this lens, and I'm gonna talk about them and show you all the features. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about the specifications of this lens and also compared to the original 90mm, which by the way is already 10 years old. That lens is 10 years old, the original 90, and it's still a very good lens. I still use it all the time. So yeah, 10 years old, wow. All right, specifications of the 100. So as you can see, it's a little bit bigger and also slightly heavier than the original 90mm. So the new one is 646 grams and the old one, I think, very close to 600 grams. So that's a difference of about 40 grams. The 100mm has an aperture ring now. The original 90 didn't have that. It has two custom buttons versus one on the original. The autofocus on the new 100 is definitely much faster than on the 90. It has new motors inside. Also, the bokeh, I definitely noticed it was cleaner on the 100 than the 90. If you occasionally take portraits with this kind of lenses, which they are actually quite good for, you will definitely notice that the bokeh is a bit more soft on this 100mm. Then very important, the magnification on the new one is 1.4 and the old one is just 1. That definitely helps you to get these super tiny things bigger in your photo. You can get also a little bit closer to your subject and talk about that. This lens, the new 100G Master, takes teleconverters. So that is absolutely amazing. You can put a 1.4 or the 2x teleconverters on it, and then the magnification becomes much more. With the 2x it becomes 2.8. So of course, you lose a little bit of light, so 2.8 becomes 5.6, and with the 1.4 becomes f4. But that's a big plus, that this lens can take teleconverters. Also, if we look at the design, the ring here, yeah, a little bit similar. It's bigger than on the 90, but the throw is very nice. It has the same switch that you can put up and down for the, you know, the autofocus and manual focus, and it also has a dedicated AF/MF switch on this one. So yeah, overall, a little bit more complete. Anyway, enough talking, let's go into the shots. I have a lot of shots here for you, and yeah, we're gonna take a look at all of them. So first I went to the very local forest. There are a lot of mushrooms right now in the Netherlands, so these are absolutely great. These very tiny mushrooms, I look for very tiny ones. And yeah, let's look at all of these shots. So here you can see little group of tiny mushrooms that I found in the local forest. You can see they're very tiny, And this is just the shot so you can see how they look. And yeah, then I took them from below. So I often go on the ground level. I take the photo from below. So I'm gonna go through them here in Lightroom. You can see all the settings as well in the top left. So you can see the settings, how they were taken and all that. So I get below. I wait for a good light. I check different angles. And yeah, here are some first shots with this lens. So you can see beautiful bokeh and you know, same group, slightly different light. I often go around these groups and see a little bit further to see how the environment looks, like right here, a little bit further with some autumn leaves, and look at this beautiful soft bokeh here. So I'm shooting this all on f2.8, wide open. Yeah, I like to shoot wide open with the macro to get this very dreamy look in my mushroom photos that that you often see if you follow my work, basically. Then here a little bit closer, vertical, again still f2.8, and look at this very dreamy bokeh around it. It's very nice, and again different angles from the same group of mushrooms, but yeah, very nice, that single mushroom. And look at the focus here. It's interesting because I often focus on that inside of the mushroom, that little pattern, because that lights up from the light behind, and I really like to show that. So the focus, as you can see, is very narrow. Also, this one is slightly in focus here, but that's a choice. That's a choice, and that's my choice. I often focus on that inside. So that's the horizontal version, slightly different light here, but similar, very dreamy. And then I also did a black and white interpretation of this shot. I really like how this shot looks in black and white with that contrast here of the light. Very nice images. So yeah, all on f2.8. You can see I'm using a little bit higher ISO often because I'm shooting all of this handheld. Everything is handheld, so I'm very flexible around the mushrooms. I can look, just a few centimeters to the left and the right completely changes the bokeh. So this is how I work. Then I went even closer here, so yeah, I was very close to the mushrooms here, and you see here very dreamy interpretation of this group of mushrooms. Very soft, very nice. And then on my next session, I went to a different forest, and it had just rained, and there were all these raindrops on all of these leaves. And I walked around, and I saw all these beautiful leaves with autumn colors and all the little raindrops on them. And I decided to take some shots with the macro of those raindrops and of those leaves. So here's the first one. And here you can definitely see I'm working completely different. So I'm shooting at f14 here because I want to have most of the shots sharp. And you can also see I'm using an ISO of 2000. So again, handheld, didn't shoot this with the tripod. And yeah, all those little drops. So in the next one here, you can see the light came through, and you have a different light with some shadows here as well. And look at that really nice colors and those drops. ISO 1600 here. And then I tried some different angle. So this is a slightly different leaf as well. And I really like how the light hit those little drops here. You can see all the details. f14, you see I'm shooting f14, and the bokeh is still, the fall off is nice. It's pretty smooth, and sharpness is absolutely great. ISO 1600. Again, everything handheld. Made a little series of these leaves with those drops here. There was a very tiny little leaf on this big leaf that I really liked. And here I'm shooting f11, 1600, different colors here. I really liked the how these colors came together, the green with the dark brown, orange, and I all shot this quite narrow down aperture because I'm shooting top down and I want as much sharpness as possible here as well. ISO 2000, we see here all those droplets. Absolutely great to do this with this kind of macro lenses. Okay, so yeah, here I was going a little bit down and looking at the autumn colors behind. So I played a lot with those drops, still shooting at f13, and look at the clean bokeh in the back is just looking very nice. And with these shots, I have to admit that, yeah, I took them with the 100, but I could have taken them also with the 90, let's be honest. Okay, this is not super close. I'm not using the 1.4 magnification here. I'm not going as close as possible to my subject. But let's take a look at, when I do use that magnification. So here on the next shots here, we can see a leaf with some water droplets on it. This was just, a little bit further away just to see the setting. And I even put the 1.4x teleconverter on the shot. This is here a little bit closer. And now it's getting interesting. Now I get super close to part of that leaf. And I was extremely close to the leaf here. And you can see those drops. Could I have done this with the 90? Maybe yes, but I'm very close. And look at that beautiful detail. But now it's getting interesting because if we look back, you can definitely see that the right part of the leaf, that's what we are looking at, yeah? And look at the droplets, so the one on the right. Now the next shot, this is where the 90 cannot, this is too close for the 90, basically. So I'm so close to the drops, you can see all the details here. Is extremely sharp. ISO 1000, still f14, but yeah, the fall off is still very small at even f14. This is why I stop it down, but look how close I am to the drops. And this one as well, just those 3 drops. This is something that you cannot do with the 90. Here I am extremely close to the drops. Here we have some more shots that I took with that converter of this leaf. And also here, I'm using f4. Look at this shot, f4, and look at that amazing, that beautiful bokeh and that sharpness. This is a great demonstration of really what this lens can do with the right, approach. So the 1.4x converter, super sharp drop here, very nice fall off with the clean bokeh here, and also the foreground bokeh. Yeah, very nice. So here's some other examples of that, just one drop here as well. So yeah, this is something that the 90 cannot do, but the question is, do you want this? Do you need it? That's up to you to decide. So let's go to the next setting. I saw this little, what are they called again? The coral mushroom. Yeah, I think it's called coral mushroom. And they're very tiny. Yeah, so they're very tiny. And with the macro, you can take some beautiful photos of it. So this is how they look. Yeah, with a normal macro shot. So this is again without the teleconverter. We are here. And like I said, I go around the mushrooms and I see the different angles. And look at this. This is very cool. Look at that bokeh and the mushroom comes back in the bokeh. I really like this shot. So yeah, everything handheld, wide open the bokeh wide open, and looks very interesting. And I looked more, there were some other coral mushrooms, also some very tiny ones. So this is a very tiny one, ISO 500, f4 handheld. And I really like the shot. The bokeh is very clean, but I went even closer here. And really, this is really nice. Looks like a little hand reaching out, right? So you can do so many interesting things with these mushrooms. And then back to the one that we just saw, that little patch of the coral mushrooms. I framed it a little bit closer here with the detail, and also that some autumn leaves that were around it. And then this one, even going closer, even catching more detail of that coral mushroom. And this is about as close as I could get. You have to realize this is kind of like this big, this part, this coral mushroom is very tiny, very tiny. Yeah. So at the same place, I saw these mushrooms, these little ones on the forest floor. So I experimented a little bit with bokeh on this one. So let me show you some bokeh shots. So here I'm shooting wide open, f2.8, a little bit higher ISO. Again, putting my camera almost completely on the floor, actually on the forest floor. And here I want to actually show you some different bokeh shots so you can kind of have an idea. So we are starting at f2.8 here. Nice bokeh, nice background here. The light is coming through the forest here. So we have trees in the background that occasionally are catching some light coming through. That's that white that you see. So this is at f2.8, f4. So you see the bokeh balls are getting smaller, f4 here, f6.3. So the bokeh balls are getting smaller, but still very clean, nice bokeh. f8, getting smaller. f14. And you see the bokeh is still very clean and soft, but yeah, all the bokeh balls are getting smaller, and you start to see more. Yeah, so that's a quick demonstration of the bokeh. Let me do that again from f14 all the way back. You can see the changes here of the bokeh. Then this last one, very nice with this autumn leaf and this sun coming through just a little bit. And yeah, okay, I admit I put that autumn leaf there, but yeah, I really like this composition like that. And then I went a little bit closer even to show you. This is not with the teleconverter. I went closer to get that super dreamy look of these mushrooms here, and then getting even closer and looking at some of those details. Wide open, so everything looks super dreamy, the super dreamy look. I walked a little bit more and I saw this group of mushrooms that I really like. There are a lot of different autumn colors behind, like the yellow, the orange, and nice light. So this group of mushrooms, shot it at f4 640 handheld, and I really like the fall off of the light and the bokeh here with this group of mushrooms. And then I started to look. I spent maybe an hour or even longer with this small group of mushrooms because I took different shots. So here I'm going to show you the one on the left, so that, yeah, like I said in the beginning of this video, just one mushroom, always very strong against a group of mushrooms. This one I really liked as well. There's two mushrooms, maybe two little kids, and then the whole family is standing above that, and the little kids are, you know, a little bit playful together playing. So you can have all this interpretation with the shots. Here I stopped it down a little bit, f5, to get a little bit more sharpness, but you see the bokeh is still very beautiful. And here I shot at f5 as well, just to show you the bokeh, very soft. You see here again, very tiny baby mushroom, and then the whole group behind. And yeah, you can see here at f5 you can still see that group. So at f2.8, for example, it was just a big blur. So that's why I stopped it down a little bit. Here as well, like a tiny one and a big one. So often looking for the relation between smaller and bigger mushrooms. Yeah, less is more in that case. And then I had another session where I photographed some different mushrooms, and these were very tiny ones. So you can see here very tiny mushrooms on a branch, and from below they look absolutely amazing with a beautiful texture. So let me show you the first shot that I took here all the way from the ground. Again, handheld, f4.5, not wide open because I wanted to have a little bit more detail. And, you know, this row of mushrooms were not all on the same length, kind of. So I wanted to get quite some of them sharp. So here you have a beautiful overview of how that looks. So here you can also see the vertical shot where I framed a little bit more autumn leaves in the foreground and that beautiful bokeh. The sun was actually setting during this shoot, and at some point it was kind of gone, but the light got super soft. And then I took this shot, which was super close, and I used focus stacking, basically letting the camera, my A7R5, do multiple focus points, a lot of shots, to get all of these mushrooms super sharp from front to back. Still, the bokeh is very clean. I didn't stack the background, but yeah, to get all of these mushrooms very sharp. I actually also have a YouTube video about how to do focus stacking. You can check it out. And then I saw even smaller mushrooms. You almost couldn't, they were so tiny. And this is how they looked on the branch. It was a small branch and it was very tiny mushrooms, very tiny. And I took my teleconverter out for that, my 1.4x. You noticed I don't use the 2 because I simply, I don't have it. I use most of the time the 1.4x, which is fine for me. But if you want even more magnification, the 2x, of course, is awesome. Yeah, so here you can see that all the way a little bit closer. It's super tiny. And when you get so close, suddenly they remind me of some ears or something. The detail is incredible on a super close level. It's so beautiful. And again, I set up my camera, and this time I put it actually on the tripod because it was a little bit dark, and I was using a narrow aperture, because you can see even at f14 with the teleconverter, look at that, how still that bokeh is and how that fall off still is. Still is not everything sharp. f14, ISO 320 and 0.6 seconds. So I put my camera on the tripod for this, definitely. I was like, yeah, this is beautiful, but I want everything sharp. So again, I use this focus stacking technique for this shot, And you can see all of these mushrooms are beautiful. Look at nature, look at the patterns. It's absolutely incredible. Those patterns are so beautiful, right? And look at the right side. There's a little tiny raindrop, which is probably even less than a millimeter. It's maybe, yeah, super tiny. And I went as close as possible, as close as I could with the camera and the teleconverter. And then I took this shot of that very tiny drop. And also very interesting drops on the mushroom itself. So if anyone knows in the comments what that is, please tell me about it, because yeah, it's great. For all of the next shots, I use the teleconverter just to show you what you can do with that, because you can bring the background closer as well, of course. So here you have this big bokeh balls with a very tiny mushroom on the first floor, f4, beautiful bokeh here. This one, black and white image, same mushroom. I framed it vertically here because the bokeh balls were so nice, and you know, there was so much darkness around. So I really like this shot with that bokeh. Here, that group of mushrooms that you saw earlier, also with the teleconverter, getting that super, you know, a little bit more compression and that super smooth bokeh here. This little mushrooms, they were growing outside of, I don't know what you call that in English, to be honest, but yeah, they were growing outside of that. And yeah, really nice, nice scene. And I went a little bit backwards and I saw this autumn leaf quite far behind, but with the 140mm from the 2x teleconverter, I got this beautiful shot of the two tiny mushrooms, the autumn leaf behind, and a very nice color contrast as well in the bokeh. I really like this shot. And here, some other shots of that same two mushrooms just against the background, so you can see the bokeh. This was shot at f9 at 140mm, f9, and still the bokeh is so clean. And if you're wondering why suddenly these mushrooms are in a different spot, yes, I very carefully took them and put them there against this bokeh, just to show you some how that bokeh looks. Here, f6.3. So yeah, with the 2x teleconverter and getting closer to subjects, I definitely did not always shoot wide open, because the depth of field is getting so narrow. I often stop it down a little bit. Yeah, so some more examples of the bokeh here. Very clean, very smooth. Definitely a little bit smoother than the 90mm macro, I can tell you that, the bokeh. Then I found this tiny mushroom, the yellow one. I think that's also the coral mushroom, but maybe a different kind. But yeah, I really like them. They can be sometimes very tiny, but they're very vibrant. So they're very yellow. You can see how that looks here. I also took it in portrait orientation here. And then I noticed some parts that were super tiny. And again, I still have the teleconverter on it. And this was this part, super tiny part. It's just growing, just the start of a new one, I think. And yeah, I got almost as close as possible to this one. Again, this is like super tiny. It's really like this. It's so tiny, these mushrooms, that yeah, it's very yeah, you really have to look for them, otherwise you will not even see them. Here I'm shooting again f5, stop down a little bit with the converter. And I went back a little bit. I saw this little one, looks like a hand. And I really like how that looks in the bigger forest. So you can see the scale element with just a normal leaf. And now you can see how very tiny it is. It's so tiny, this little hand. But I saw something amazing here, because I was shooting it from a little bit closer. And look at it now. If you look closely, you see some very tiny insects here. They're very tiny. They're less than a millimeter, probably, these guys. And there were two of them. And I was getting a little bit closer to them just to see. And I was so close. I was almost as close as possible. You see, even at f9, the bokeh is very smooth. And these guys, oh my God, they were so tiny and so adorable. And they were just running super fast, like running super fast over this mushroom, and sometimes standing still. It was not easy to capture these guys. And yeah, I tried to do some different shots here. You see with their antennas. It's not a spider. They had two big antennas, and they were just walking around on these mushrooms. Very cool to see. Here you see one that is looking right at me. Yeah, you see it's looking right at me here with the little face. And wow. So this was as close as I could get to that very little guys with the macro and the 1.4x. And here is even a crop of that. And look at that. You can see the eyes and the detail is incredible. At f8, still the fall off is not everything sharp, but you know, they were fast, not easy to capture as well. So very happy with these shots actually. And this is something that you cannot do with this 90. They were so tiny. Less than a millimeter, maybe half a millimeter, and I was getting so close, and I could not get close enough with the 90. With the 90, of course, I can capture flies, I can capture just normal insects, little spiders in great detail. But these tiny guys, no, I could not capture them with this lens. So yeah, to wrap up this video, as you could see, there are definitely some more options with the 100 compared to the 90, but let's be very honest, these lenses are both absolutely great. I have used the 90 for many years. I've taken many beautiful photos with it, and I definitely also still really recommend this lens. If you have the budget, just get the 100 because it has more features, it can get closer, it has a little bit cleaner bokeh, but most importantly, it can get the teleconverters. It has some more buttons, but the teleconverters and the magnification, that's the most important thing. So if you have the budget, get this one. Should you upgrade? Yeah, if you're a macro shooter and you like all of this, definitely upgrade and just sell your 90. I'm gonna sell my 90, and that's a great thing about this release as well. If you're on a budget, you can probably get the 90 very soon at a great bargain because quite a lot of people are going to sell their 90 and gonna get the new one. So the old one is gonna get cheaper. It's still an absolutely great lens. The new lens has basically everything and is an absolutely amazing macro lens. Absolutely the best macro lens for Sony that you can get right now. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have a question, put them in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in another one. Bye bye.